What up? You are live and direct on Petty Sports, the podcast brought to you by Kingz Broadcasting Studios. It's your boy, the host, Famous Fees. They call me Fax. Yo, we here live with my man Adam. Holla, Adam.
You already know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. Petty Sports, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you decided to tune in to the one-stop sports shop in Atlanta. It's a loaded show tonight, as always. Don't forget to call in 678-871-9602. Every social media platform you're coming from, please engage somehow. Follow, subscribe, comment. Again, call the show. Get in live. Not many podcasts out there that you can do that with. Fees. We got so much to get into. Bless us tonight with the lineup, man. What do we got?
Yo, the lineup is loaded as usual. You know, we got to talk about the NCAA title game. Kansas finally brought one back home for the man. It's been a long time coming for them. The Lakers are officially out of the playoffs. I know y'all didn't think we wasn't going to talk about that. We got a cold versus battle for you this time. It's the UFC GOAT edition. Anderson Silva, John Bones Jones. It's going to get real. We covering the NFC South. Or my bad, we doing the NFC East this week. We did the South last week. Had to run it all the way back. Got a little scandal to talk about. Little Colin Kaepernick in the lineup. Lineup is completely loaded. Man, as I tell you every single week, get your popcorn ready. Get you a good stick, good drink. Get you a pen and pad and take some notes because it's about to go down. So, man, we just going to jump right into this thing. The Kansas Jayhawks, they walked North Carolina down on Monday night.
Absolutely.
To claim their fourth national championship with the biggest comeback in NCAA title game history. And I know a lot of folks was comparing that to the Falcons because that's what they do.
Damn, really?
Every time someone blows a lead, like, let me just rewind you just a bit. I mean, although it was funny. I thought it was funny, too. But basketball ain't the same kind of sport.
Yeah.
A 16-point lead in a basketball game is not that much.
No, that's a couple threes and like 2 turnovers and you're back in the game.
Yeah, like, have you been watching lately? Every single basketball game that comes on, somebody gets up by 20 and then they blow the lead.
Yep.
That is normal in basketball.
Doc Rivers.
It's just that it happened in a title game. Jumping back into what actually happened, how was Kansas able to turn this game around in the second half?
You know, my eyes don't lie to me when I go back and watch the tape, man. It was nothing but physicality when you really take a look at how the game played out overall. And you look at the fact that in the first half, Kansas jumped out to an early 7-0 lead, and a lot of people anticipated that. You know, we know what type of team that Kansas is. But then you see down the stretch of that first half, horrible 40-18 run by obviously UNC over the rest of that. Dominated them, on the offensive glass as well, 18-2. So just with those, couple of numbers there, it shows you that Kansas didn't have the physicality. They weren't tapped in. And overall, they were just getting kind of ran up and down the floor. And UNC was doing really whatever they wanted in this national title game for a good minute there against Kansas. And you look at the fact that, they were hitting shots, they were spreading the floor. But Kansas's, speaking of UNC, but Kansas's trio of Martin, Braun, and Wilson literally shot 15% combined from the floor in that game. Then you go and look in obviously the start of the second half. Huge dunk to start out from Kansas, so that gets the energy going. And then a 31-10 run within the first 10 minutes of the second half, so you feel the energy coming back. They start getting more physical. You see them blocking shots. You see them actually grabbing these rebounds. And when obviously, people always say in the NBA playoffs and any time of, high-stakes sports play, especially basketball, though, you're going to play hard. You're going to play physical, whistle to whistle, no question about it. And you look at the fact that going into the second half now, they were locking UNC up. Their role players only shot 21% in the second half, speaking of UNC, according to, and then you look at Kansas, they shot 72% from the floor combined. So just a major night and day thing here. And again, 26-16 points in the paint, slashing to the rim, blocking shots. But Kansas did this before. Let's not be surprised, right? When they played against Miami, they were literally down 35-29 at the half. Come back and run it up 47-15 in the second half. Outscored UNC 47-29 in the second half after trailing 40-25. Kansas earned it. They walked him down. They pounded it board to board in the second half, and that is why they are the champs today.
Yeah, I mean, what was actually more surprising in the game was the fact that North Carolina was up by that much in the first place.
Yeah.
Kansas came out the blocks. Their shots were falling in the very beginning. That's why they were up 9-3. It looked like they were going to run away with them the same way they did Villanova.
Yep.
The shots stopped falling. North Carolina answered the bell. They jumped up. They got smacked in the mouth real early. They answered back, and Kansas was like, wait, y'all want to play today? For real? Like, I thought we were just going to cruise and get this trophy. And then they stopped finishing. Like, they missed so many point-blank layups. They attempted way too many three-pointers.
Yeah.
I mean, Love was just shooting the ball from anywhere. Like, you hit a couple of shots, and then he thought he was Steph Curry.
Yep.
Shot everything that he saw. But, I mean, even just like I was saying before, a 16-point lead in a basketball game is not that much when you have 20 minutes worth of game left. I mean, a couple of quick plays, three-pointer, a dunk, momentum changes. All of a sudden, they've retooled the defense. I mean, really what happened, they went into the half. They got cussed out. They actually got it together. Kansas is a better basketball team than North Carolina in the first place.
Right.
And that's why they were able to walk them down. They're more disciplined. They had more depth.
Yep.
They played, like, they beasted them in the post. And, like, they went down the stretch, and actually, like, they made it happen when it mattered the most.
Yep.
Even after a couple of blunders. I mean, that out-of-bounds play, that was kind of tough. I mean, he stepped out, but he also traveled. There were so many infractions. Like, I don't know if he just forgot that he was supposed to dribble, didn't see the out-of-bounds line.
Yeah.
It was like, whatever you want to call this, is North Carolina ball.
All right.
And then they just took a bunch of bad three-pointers even at that point. But they couldn't get good looks.
Right.
The defense turned up in the second half to a point where North Carolina was they were in over their head in the second half.
Right.
They really just I don't even think they understood how they got that lead. They're like, yeah, we're up, but they're missing a lot of shots.
Rested on their laurels, absolutely. And I mean, you're talking about how bad they shot in the second half. They literally 21% in the second half. And Kansas shot, with their big three, their role players 15%. So it really just traded off, man. And you saw, the rebounds, where they were slashing to the rim, like a good bit of the second half started out with literally just nothing from points in the paint from Kansas, and they just kind of never got off that pedestal. So they just literally smashed them in the mouth in the second half, and that's why they're the champs today. Yeah,
man. I think the biggest smack in the face for them comparing that to Super Bowl 51 is it also happened on 404 Day. Everybody's making the post, celebrating the city, and then it's like, oh, God, like, what is this?
Right.
Now you see these Carolina Blue Falcon logos.
Oh,
with a Tar Heel on top of it.
Oh, that's like when they did the Cam Newton Patriots logo. Remember with the hair? Yeah, the bonnet. Yeah. And then they did they redid the Patriots logo with the Buccaneers colors. Yeah, that was kind of nice, but kind of ugly too. So.
Oh, definitely, man. So with Hubert Davis taking his team over, first season, he takes them to the national championship and is one half of basketball away from delivering. Yeah. Sending Coach K home with a regular season loss in his final game and sending him home in his final actual game. Was this season a gift or a curse for Hubert?
I got to say it's a gift, and I was trying to understand this for a second, but I really know why we had put this into the show, man, because we see this all the time, first-year players, first-year coaches, they come in, and they're really hot. They're obviously lighting it up. People don't know what to expect from them, and then it's just kind of like instantly they're playing with house money because they're they just come in and off the rip, they're immediately great. And, the reason I think this is a gift is because UNC is a very well-respected and decorated franchise, obviously, in men's basketball today. And when you look at the fact that when they hired Hubert Davis, they actually went and got him quick. So Davis retired, obviously, from being an assistant for 9 years with the team. And then 4 days later, they literally called him up. And let's not forget that Dean Smith, Roy Williams, like these guys were behind Hubert Davis, kind of shipping him, coaching him, mentoring him up potentially for the position. But again, I understand why you asked this because, and it could have been just maybe right place, right time, right? Let's not maybe be prisoners of the moment with, two Coach KWs and only a half away from, winning it. But that is the difference, and that's why you're going to have to come back, obviously, the next season and see, what juniors, seniors, and maybe even sophomores do go to the NBA draft. But I do have to say it's a gift because this is a well-respected culture, and, he did great. It's not like, and yes, people might have been nervous, obviously, but this guy played in the NBA for, 14 years. He was an assistant for 9, and again, Dean Smith and Roy Williams were behind him, So I think just when you go through the rest of these seasons that he's going to have ahead of him, a Sweet 16 is probably what they're expecting at the very least, but I don't know if we can say, he's got to be in the Final Four every year or he's going to let us down because it's not how it is. We know rosters literally change every 2 to 4 seasons in NCAA, so I think it's a gift for him.
That's a very modest expectation. If you made it to the national championship game, the Sweet 16 is a failure. You went 29-10 in your first season as a head coach and made it to the national championship game. Yeah. The expectation from this point forward, next season, you're expected to win the ACC. nothing less than that. You're expected to go into the tournament with one of those 4-1 seeds. They figure you should be one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team, if you were able to walk in and accomplish that in year one.
Right.
I mean, if they go to the Final Four next year, won't be enough. If they win the ACC and get bounced early in the tournament, won't be enough.
Yeah.
Getting back to the title game and losing again won't be enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get a lengthy extension because if he was able to get them this far that fast.
Yeah.
But how long is that grace going to extend?
Right.
2-3 more seasons. If they don't make another deep run and don't win a title, his seat's going to get real hot because the bar has been raised so high.
Yeah.
That's why I say it can be a curse. It might have actually been better for him if you knew in hindsight that they were going to lose the national championship game, would have been better to lose to Duke in the Final Four than to make it that far. Because now the bar has been raised all the way to the roof, where the only way you can jump over that is to actually hoist that trophy and cut the nets.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And we know that that's obviously definitely how the UNC fan base is going to feel. But like you and I, we both know, sitting here watching decades upon decades of sports, we try to call dynasties. We try to call, these big threes, big fours, whatever it may be, the greatest show on turf, all this, 17-0 Patriots, whatever the case may be, right? We try to call that, but we see it time and time again that sports isn't linear. Things happen, injuries, people's, desires change. And I understand where you're coming from, when you come off or you come out of the gate so hot and the pedestal set so high, but I just know me personally, I can't come out here every season saying, okay, Hubert Davis, you got to go to at least the Final Four of the national championship, or anything else is kind of a bust out. I'll go and say the Elite Eight because of the first season, but I mean, hell, he could get stopped in the round of 32. You never know. That's why it's literally called March Madness. But hell, again, like this is why we have to ask these type of questions. Like when we saw a little bit of the Marshawn Lynch, I was just talking about Lynn sanity last night with the guys at work. Like, y'all remember the whole 60 seconds of Jeremy Lin? We don't want that with Hubert Davis, and that's why I feel like Elite Eight at the minimum. But I mean, I respect it. You got high standards for a guy who, again, knocking off Coach K twice and in the national championship, just a half away from winning it all first year.
Teams rarely repeat, let alone the team that lost actually getting back to win the next year.
Right.
That rarely ever happens. I don't see it being any different. I think his seat is going to start warming up very quickly.
Right.
He can't even afford to have a hiccup anymore.
So you think, like, before we move, so like bare minimum national title every year?
No, not every year, but they're going to have to win the ACC and make deep runs.
Yeah. So, like, okay, better question. Like Sweet 16, Elite Eight, kind of like where I'm at, bare minimum, or is it got to be Final Four?
Elite Eight, Final Four. Sweet 16 is too early.
Yeah.
I mean, St. Peter's made it farther than that. There's a lot of schools that make the Sweet 16, and they actually make it fairly regularly. But when you start to get into this rare air where you're going to the title game, you're expected to put one up. They have 6 championships, and they could taste that 7th one.
Right. I totally feel
that taste ain't coming out their mouth. That fan base, the franchise, the AD, everybody involved with North Carolina is looking for a title much sooner than later. There's not going to be a lot of grace.
Yeah. I mean, when you come in that hot, I definitely can't disagree with what you're saying. Mike, what's up? Ramonico, what is happening? Jamila's share, of course. Appreciate everybody being in on the chat tonight. Little 14 steady viewers with us. I'll be expecting more comments, though. It's kind of light so far, but we'll go ahead and roll on, Fees. I know we got a loaded show tonight. Just wanted to welcome the folks in.
Yes, sir. We're going to move on to the Lake Show. The Lakers have missed the playoffs now for the second time in LeBron's 4 years in L.A.
I'm over here thinking about the Facebook post with the flutes. I can't. Y'all got to head to the page for the reference. It's tough. It's tough for the Lakers.
Laker legend Magic Johnson has already dropped a bombshell on LeBron, blaming him for not signing who has been an MVP candidate most of the season, DeMar DeRozan. I mean, is LeBron to blame for the disappointment in L.A.?
Now, quick question. Are you just talking about this season? Like this season's disappointment?
this season. It's just since he's been there.
Yeah, okay. So I'll kind of attack it from a couple of angles, but I think he takes the most blame for this year, and I think this is because you look at the fact that we heard about Westbrook, we heard about Carmelo Anthony coming in. LeBron was like, oh, go ahead and doubt my team, and people are saying it's over. Like that whole video I was talking about, if y'all have a second, go to the Facebook and look at, I think it's the Lakers season review, and it kind of shows flashes of some of the tweets, and obviously everybody that they signed and brought in. And we've heard of LeBron, and it's kind of silly. I feel like people are building this narrative here within the past few days that LeBron James bullies teams into signing the players that he wants. And yes, does he obviously have a major influence? Of course he does, but LeBron James is without question a top 5, top 3 NBA player of all time, obviously depending on who you talk to. But in terms of this year, I do think he takes the most blame because you got Melo, you obviously got Dwight Howard. The entire Westbrook fiasco is maybe the biggest blemish on LeBron's career outside of the 2011 finals meltdown. If you can, I guess, hold LeBron to that. And then the fact that he wasn't healthy this year, of course, the health hasn't been great. He's played great, like a top player in the league, no doubt, when he is healthy. And he usually is. But we've seen, ever since he got to LA, you can sit up here and say LeBron's never been healthy in LA. Now think about it. First year they missed. Second year, they obviously win the title. But LeBron and AD were not very healthy going into the pandemic. They got 4 months off, obviously came back and won the title in the bubble. Last year bounced out, and then this year they're going to miss the playoffs. So if we're talking about this year for LeBron, I do think a lot of the blame does have to lay on him. But you also look at the fact that Anthony Davis, he's missed half the games this year. He's missed 84 games overall since he has been in LA. Him, Bron, and Russ, 21 games together. They're 11-10. Not scary, not like the Kyrie, KD, James Harden Nets that we thought we were going to see. It hasn't been that. And you look at the fact that LeBron played over 70 games in all but 2 seasons before he came to LA. He hasn't done that since he's been a Laker. So you can clearly see LeBron's health is tapering off. But I'm not going to necessarily say that maybe he's all to blame for it, because when you look at it, not much has really changed since he got to LA. LA was on a 6-season out of the playoff streak. Bubble chip after having 4 months off, hurt most of his time while he's there. AD really didn't change that much. Russ flopped, and the role players are really non-existent. So I got to say LeBron is definitely at fault for this season, and probably about 50% of the last 4 years, for sure.
No, I'm actually going to give this blame to LeBron, because for those of us that actually are Laker fans and were Laker fans before the Bron Hive made their way to L.A. and completely tried to just set up shop and take over, you will remember when we sat here years ago when LeBron actually got traded to the Lakers.
Yep.
I was all the way against it. And everybody's like, oh, wow, you're just a hater. I'm like, no, we've watched him. Every team he's gone to, the roster is completely flip-flop. They get rid of all the players that are there, bring in a whole new cast of guys. They may rattle off a title, and when he leaves, all those old players that he brings in either follow him or retire, and he leaves you with no money and no players. In cap hell, your team goes to hell. Luckily, the Lakers front office will not allow that, but just you want me to illustrate what actually has happened since he's been there. He came in, they missed the playoffs. They were the 11th seed the year before he came. They were the 10th seed the year when he got there. He didn't come in and just flip-flop everything. Then the next year, they won the championship in the bubble with 4 months off, which now, once we've actually been able to see the body of work, it's like, okay, well, they won a title. You can't just take away a title. If you want it, you want it. But the whole body of work is there now. You got bounced in the first round of the playoffs the next year. You missed the playoffs this year. That's 2 seasons out of 4 you didn't even make the playoffs. One, you lost in the first round, and one, you've got this massive asterisk because of first the 4-month layover, which helped the health of Mr. Glass, a.k.a. Street Clothes.
A.k.a. Anthony Davis, a.k.a. The Brow.
And then you got that isolated environment in the bubble. But now you look at Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, DeMar DeRozan, and Russell Westbrook were all trying to come to L.A. Westbrook's the only one that actually was allowed to get their dream answered and come play in their hometown. But then he shipped out all the young talent. I mean, let me give you the roster of players that were there before he came. Because, yes, the Lakers were bad before he got there, but they had been drafting, rebuilding, and really, they were creating a young culture of a very good basketball team. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Julius Erving, Kyle Kuzma, Zubac, Larry Nance, Jordan Clarkston, Josh Hart, Gary Payton Jr., Brook Lopez. If you sent that team out on the court, they would beat this Lakers team.
Yeah, I agree.
All of these guys are flourishing in their new destinations. That was supposed to be the team before he got there. Like, Laker fans had already sat and suffered the 4 years of being bad and watched this young team develop. And the young team was starting to make their way in. It was like, oh, we want this one championship so bad that we'll be willing to go through another 4 years of this nonsense when he decides to take his talents to Golden State. He brought in Rondo. We hate him. Lance Stevenson, definitely don't like him. Dwight Howard, again, we didn't want him the first time we got him.
Yeah.
Tyson Chandler, J.R. Smith, Avery Bradley, Danny Green, Jared Dudley, Marc Gasol, Andre Drummond, Wesley Matthews, and Street Clothes. Outside of Street Clothes, every player I named you is a 10-plus year washed-up veteran of yesteryear that is a name that hasn't been a household name for a decade.
Yeah.
He brought in a straight geriatric crew and then would blame everything on Westbrook. It's ridiculous. Westbrook averaged 19.7 assists and 7 rebounds, and everybody's like, he's trash. It's his fault. That is not a trash stat line, especially when you can factor in the fact that he doesn't have the ball in his hands anymore, and he's just left there to take all the blame for everything.
Yeah.
So before we move along, is it time for them to blow it up and start over?
Oh, this is a massive question surrounding LeBron, Street Clothes, the Lakers. Let's just get to it, though. If the Lakers want to compete sooner rather than later, yeah, absolutely. I mean, LeBron controls his team. LeBron controls the team in one way only. He's ball dominant. The ball's in his hands. He's the captain, right? He's the one, whether he's playing the 3, the 4, maybe the 5. Like, LeBron is the point usually. They play through him. We know, again, we've seen LeBron 20 seasons. We know what he brings to the hardwood. But you talk about, LeBron again. He doesn't necessarily have to go because LeBron, again, is still a top player when he's healthy, and he usually has been healthy. Just unfortunately, since he's got to L.A., we've seen the later part of his, career, back part of the 30s. He started to deteriorate. So he doesn't have to go, but everyone around him does. Like you said, it's literally 10-year veterans bringing in the geriatric crew. They haven't been really a name in the NBA for a while now, and none of these guys are producing. I mean, again, the Westbrook blemish. No Kendrick Nunn, no Anthony Davis. I mean, no Talen Horton-Tucker. You've literally got guys out here that LeBron bartered for to bring into LA, and those guys have to go now if you want to get back to the winning way soon in Los Angeles, like you just saw in your little bubble year. You're going to have to make some aggressive moves. You're already firing Frank Vogel, so don't feel bad about that. I think Quinn Snyder is the rumored coach to come in after that. So that does feel like kind of already a fresh start for Los Angeles. But if you look at the fact that if you keep LeBron, does the coach, do the coaches, do the front office have that discipline to kind of keep LeBron out of things like he's been in his whole career? And that's where I don't think it's attainable. So you might just have to blow everything up in general, like LeBron included, just send everybody out. It's definitely a tough situation for LA, but I feel like they kind of have a couple different routes to go here.
Oh, no, man. I think the clear route is trade LeBron, trade AD.
Definitely trade Davis.
Cut the dead weight. Like, I'm talking about, like, they're holding on to people that just LeBron brought in. Get rid of Melo, Dwight, Ariza, Ellington. Get rid of all of them.
Right.
Give the keys to Russ. Build a new team. If you trade LeBron and AD.
Russ, I'm good.
You trade LeBron and AD, the amount of players, like very high contributors that you would get in return for that, Russ is not falling off. This is a situational thing. Yeah. Every year before he got there, he's been killing. This is a bad situation for him. But he's the youngest that they've got. Get rid of the rest of them. AD can't stay healthy. Let these guys go. Yeah. This ain't 24. We ain't going to keep running. Call this thing out for us. Count us down.
Kobe break during the Lakers segment. 3, 2, 1. Kobe. R.I.P. to the Mamba. 8:24 on a Wednesday in the middle of talking about the Lakers. It's sad, man. Not much change besides an asterisk championship and one short-lived playoff run with these Lakers. Over to you, Bill.
Appreciate it, Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in. You're watching tonight, Wednesday night edition of Petty Sports, brought to you by Kingz Broadcasting Studios. And, of course, Pulse 880 Radio. We thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Call your friend, neighbors, co-workers. Text your friend, neighbors, co-workers. Let them know the guys are at the table. They're doing what they do. They're going in on the latest and greatest in the sports world. Everybody in the chat room, Miss Sharper, Mr. Sharper, Jamila, everybody, Mike, you know what I'm saying? What's happening then? We appreciate everybody coming in, joining us tonight. Share the show, share the love. You know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, go to your favorite podcast platform of preference. Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify. Type in Petty Sports with a Z, and you can listen right there anytime. Catch some of the older shows, and this show will air in a couple of days as well. So stay tuned for that. And go over to YouTube, Petty Sports page, Petty Sports with a Z, of course, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so anytime the show is live and going hot, you will be notified and won't miss a beat. All right. So, yeah, go over to Post 880 Radio. That's a 24/7 internet radio station. They're live right now. So, you know, you don't want to go right now, but, you know, because the show is live. So, you know what I'm saying? Anytime you get the opportunity to listen to some music in your downtime, check them out. Post 880 Radio. It's a hot station. They play urban, hip-hop, R&B, soft rock, gospel, you know, you name it. You know, they're kind of all over with that. So check them out. We appreciate the love. And call in tonight at 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. That's how you can be a part of the show and join the conversation tonight. We'd love to hear from you, all right? ATL Hope, back to the regular scheduled program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we jump back into the next one, we got to give a quick shout out to my cuz Mike Maynard. He won the Petty Pool. He went with Kansas all the way through and through.
Hey.
Came out in first place. Gave us all work. He was just quietly in the background. He started talking like after the Elite Eight, like, see, I told you. Like,
hey
man, watch out with that.
How about that guy that picked Kansas? Oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, but that can't even hate. Like, man, he took the Petty title.
Right.
Say, big ups to you for that.
Congratulations to you and your big old Bama logo in your profile picture there.
You know the whole fam is from Alabama.
Right. Right.
I'm the only one that's actually not a Roll Tider.
There we go. At least you're not a Dookie.
I'm mad y'all didn't know that was a thing. Duke's fans call themselves Dookies.
I will be damned if I walk around getting called a Dookie. We all know what a Dookie is here, okay? So just putting that out there.
I don't know.
Michael Fry, what's happening, brother?
Craziness. Man, we're going to switch gears into the NFL because, you know, we can't stay away from the gridiron. There's been a massive draft day trade between the New Orleans Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints will now get the 16th and the 19th pick in the first round and a 6th-rounder this year. In return, the Eagles got an 18th pick of the first round, which they already have the 15th. Now they got the 15th and the 18th. They got a 3rd-rounder, a 7th-rounder for this year, next year's first-round pick for the Saints, and the 2024 second-round pick. So, I mean, the Eagles made off with a haul. But what are the Saints actually planning on doing with all of these picks?
You know, it's funny that you say that the Eagles made off with a haul because you look at what was actually traded. So 16th and the 19th overall for the Saints. You said the Eagles had the 15th and the 18th. So that's all relative first-round picks, right? I think we could kind of offset there. And then you look at the fact that the Saints actually got 2 first-rounders in their pocket and only sent out a first round for next year. And when you look at it, they sent out a 3rd and a 7th potentially for a 6th-rounder this year or for the first-rounder, really, however you want to look at it. So I wouldn't say necessarily that the Eagles got a haul. I know it's a lot of players that went throughout and everything, but when you look at really what both teams need and how New Orleans needs that wide receiver, you know, they need that potential offensive lineman, obviously in that aspect. When they're sitting in those positions in the draft, 16th, 19th, I think it's pretty strong for them. And like I said, they kind of need everything. And it's funny that I say, but mostly quarterback, running back, wide receiver, offensive line, and secondary. You look at New Orleans over the past couple years, and I don't have to go through the names, but they've literally cleaned house. They were $100 million in debt. I mean, I saw the video before we came live on the show. The Saints gracefully have $21 million in cap space. And I was like, holy crap, I literally haven't seen that in a couple of years. So now that we can potentially make these free agency moves, but sticking to the draft here, of course, the trenches are above average, but they're not great anymore, unfortunately. If you're talking about a wide receiver, I think that New Orleans could really target in this draft. Maybe Chris Olave, London Drake, Jameson Williams. I don't know. Well, one of those guys will fall to 16. I'm confident in that. I don't know what order. If I had to guess, maybe Jameson Williams and then Chris Olave go off the top. Let's not forget about, I think, Garrett Young from Ohio State, I'm not mistaken. First name Garrett, though, for sure. Definitely a wide receiver in the draft. But we know New Orleans needs a wide receiver. I mean, we've seen the years where Michael Thomas obviously had all the catches and Emmanuel Sanders and Jared Cook come in. But can we actually get these people involved in this Saints offense to where they're not having to throw to Michael Thomas, 15, 16 times a game, especially with a quarterback like Jameis Winston. And then you look at the fact that either Tyler Linderbaum or even, I believe it's Ikem Ekwonu, could be a day one starter for New Orleans, no question about it, considering the offensive line has dwindled in the past couple of years, and they just lost Teron Armstead to the Dolphins. So I would really like to see the Saints go for wide receiver and offensive line in this aspect, maybe even secondary as well, but 16 and 19 is pretty solid. Again, getting a couple of firsts in, not really dealing out a whole lot on the back of that. I would have liked to maybe see a little bit less, but I'm not mad about it. So just got to cross your fingers that New Orleans has a way better draft than they did last year. It was one of the worst in the league. We weren't live for my reaction. Y'all are probably lucky that we weren't. It was bad. It was bad. Very bad.
That's interesting. You think giving up 2 firsts and a second is not much. That's a haul. 2 first-round picks and a second round in addition to a third and a seventh. That's a lot. I mean, I don't know how much you have to give up for it to be a lot in your eyes. I know you're Saints fans, but come on now. They gave up a haul, and any team that gives up that many picks, you be rest assured they're going for a quarterback.
Here's how I look at it. They gave up the 18th and a first round next year for a 16th and a 19th. So that offsets there. They gave up a 6th rounder.
He's a fan, so I don't get talked today.
3rd and the 7th round this year for a 6th rounder this year. No, I'm just saying they didn't give up a haul. They didn't give up a haul, man. They actually gave up pretty nice.
Reiterated what the trade was. He's like, no, my back.
I'm just saying, bro. They didn't give up a haul here. They actually came out pretty nicely.
I just explained why. We don't have to keep running back to what it was. Now, I know when a team gives up that many draft picks, they're definitely getting a quarterback. They signed Jameis Winston to a 2-year, $28 million deal with 21 guaranteed. That is basically a bridge/mentor deal. They're going to bring in a rookie, let him sit behind Jameis. If he's groomed up fast enough this season, he'll actually get in there. If not, he's going to sit behind Jameis for 1 year. Then Jameis will transition into a backup/mentor for the next season for their quarterback of the future. They're definitely going quarterback for whoever's available. No, they said they've had their eyes on Kenny Pickett if he is to drop that far. It just depends on what teams really feel about him, because there are quite a few teams picking ahead that actually need quarterbacks. But we'll see where he drops. I mean, the Saints have moved up. They seem to be impressed with his size and accuracy. He's 6'3", got a pretty strong arm. They're feeling like he's the quarterback of the future. They do need depth at the wide receiver position. I mean, from all of what I'm hearing, a man out of USC is not going to make it back that far. Jameson Williams will be available, but his health is going to be really his health is the reason why he'll still be available there. If he was healthy, he'd probably be a top 10 wide receiver. He'd be off the board far earlier. I have seen some videos of him working out on the field, so he looks like his surgery went over well. So he is still going to go fairly high in the draft. But, I mean, they need depth at wide receiver. They're going to use that first-round pick. The first one is going on a quarterback. They do need a wide out. I mean, Michael Thomas' status has been so far in the air, whether he's hurt or just mentally checked out and wants to leave. But after that, you got Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway and Lil Jordan. And that's actually his name is Lil Jordan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're very anemic at wide receiver.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you should be seeing a wide receiver at 16 or a quarterback at 16 and a wide receiver at 19, more than likely, out of the Saints that gave up a haul. Now we're going to move on to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, boy.
What are the Eagles like? Do you think the Eagles are going to build around Hurts, or is that actually even their need?
Yes, that is their need, absolutely. And I hope that they build around Jalen Hurts, because you guys know on the show how I feel about Jalen Hurts from Alabama to Oklahoma and now coming into the NFL. And I still think he's taking a chance, or not taking a chance, excuse me, but he's now finally got a full 16, 17 games under his belt. You know, a couple of games the season before got pulled out at the end. And we saw his passion, you know, how bad it really pissed him off to know that the Eagles were, you know, kind of trying to tank on live television, and it involved Jalen Hurts' playing time, and he wasn't happy about that. And that's just a testament to how much Jalen Hurts loves this team, and that team needs to show that back to him. They need to buy back into him. They need to look at the fact that if you can bring in some more pass catchers for Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith was obviously pretty solid last year. There's no question about that. But if you look at the fact that, you know, having someone available at 18, you know, good options at wide receiver, like I just mentioned with a Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jamison Williams, but I think they could use a defensive lineman as well to also, you know, take some of that pressure, or not take some of that pressure, excuse me, but obviously having some of that solidarity on the defense. I mean, take your pick from Georgia's defensive line in the first round: Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and maybe even go get a secondary sleeper player somewhere in the third round with that trade from the Saints. But yes, if the Eagles could maybe go after an offensive lineman as well. But I know usually the Eagles have had a pretty solid O-line within the last few seasons, especially according to PFF as well. Just buy in on them with some more pass catchers, and I feel like the running back room is solid as well. Jalen Hurts is going to be a top quarterback in this league. I said it last year within the preseason predictions. He can be a top 12 to 15 quarterback in the NFL, no doubt about it. He just has to be built around correctly, and I'm hoping that's what the Eagles do this year. Solid first season with the new coach, so let's hope that these draft picks are something else for them to ride on.
Yeah, I mean, with Philly receiving all of these picks now, I mean, they got the 15th and the 18th. They got the third rounder and a seventh rounder added to their draft picks. They have a lot of picks, but they also have a lot of holes on their defense.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to look to beef up the weapons for Hurts in the first round. Those two first-round picks, I mean, they're going to look to add on the defense. Definitely edge rushers, linebackers, corners. They have issues all over the defense. They can get very viable players in the first round in those spots. They might not even pick a wide receiver in the second round just because the wide receiver class is so deep. They don't have to spend on one that early for they get someone that can produce. I mean, Devontae Smith has already showed that he's a playmaker, and his rookie campaign was nice. Jalen Reagor is very effective when he's healthy. Don't know how many games he's going to give you, but when he is out there, he's another very viable weapon. Then you got me with Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, Dallas Goedert coming back. They won't make huge offensive moves early in the draft. They're going to try to take guys later on that can come right in and contribute. They won't have to pay them big money. They're going to spend their money and their high draft picks on defense because the way the league is panning out, you're going to need to be able to stop somebody. All the teams in the AFC have loaded up, and the two big boys that you're looking at in the NFC will run the score up on you between the Rams and the Bucks. So they've got to address the defense and then add some key pieces on offense along with just the progression of Jalen Hurts. I mean, he threw over 3,100 yards last year. That wasn't super impressive. 16 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns. He piggybacks off of that, gets more comfortable with that new offense. I think the Eagles will actually be fine, but they're not picking wide receivers with those two first-round picks. Don't see it. So now we're going to stick with the NFL, and we're going to go to the man of the hour, who's been the man of the hour for like 6 years. I'm getting so sick of talking about this guy. Colin Kaepernick made some throws at halftime of the Michigan spring game because, you know, Jim Harbaugh loves the guy. But he was his coach when he was actually an NFL quarterback. They went to a Super Bowl together. Was one possession away from winning it because he refused to throw the ball to Randy Moss.
Still can't believe that. I actually forgot that it was that much of a love with Crabtree.
Yeah. All four passes to Crabtree lost the games. Like, greatest deep ball receiver, jump ball guy that we've ever seen. Don't try it once, but yeah, that's not what we're here to talk about. Given this wild NFL offseason, who should take a flyer on Colin after 6 years away from NFL action?
This is an absolutely loaded question. And when you go through all 32 teams in the NFL, oddly enough, most people out there either have a most teams in the league have a quarterback that they're okay with, whether it's a franchise guy, a bridge guy, or maybe even someone that might just be serviceable for a while until they can maybe chase the draft or go for a trade like they want. And you mentioned it, a wild NFL offseason. When I look at a couple of teams that are absolutely rebuilding, I look at Seattle and I look at Atlanta. But I'm really going to lean on the side of the Atlanta Falcons here. And they've already admitted to you they're absolutely rebuilding, so there's nothing to lose in this situation whatsoever. Sign Kaepernick to $1 million prove-it deal, just like when Cam Newton came over to the Panthers. Like we see it in the NFL. We know what the prove-it deal is. Hell, pay him $700,000 or $800,000, whatever you might want to do. I mean, Cap wants to be in the league, and we know that. We see the workouts all the time. We hear the reports all the time about being ready to play. It's no mystery that Colin Kaepernick wants a shot again in the NFL. And here's the thing: you don't have to start him. You don't have to start him. You can keep Mariota at QB1. You bring Kaepernick in, and it's not even like it's a desperate reach or you're just trying to sell seats, but you will more than likely see an increase in your sales because you have such an icon or a figure, however you want to look at Kaepernick, in the NFL landscape. You bring that type of just, I don't know if I'd even say question mark, but like kind of different vibe and energy into the franchise. That could be something. Again, you're going through a rebuild. You never know what you could get. It's not going to cost you a lot. If for some reason Kaepernick falls through, then guess what? You spent a total of maybe 55 seconds to look in on him, sign him, and then maybe bring him to a couple of practices and walkthroughs. I mean, Kaepernick would be, again, I think he would be a decent attempt for Atlanta, even with, all of the time that he has missed. And you look at the fact that you could even potentially design runs for Kaepernick, try and work him into the system, of course, but we know he's been working out again, staying hungry for the league. And when we saw him when he was in the NFL, big arm, big build, could kind of move, kind of hit or miss with his accuracy, of course. We talked about that before we went live tonight on the set. And again, I think it's worth a shot. There is no money involved, literally. There is minimal commitment. You already locked up your cheapest guy, essentially, in Cordero Patterson, so go for it. Take a shot, Atlanta. Why not? Go get Kaepernick.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting move if Atlanta was to actually go in that direction. But the team that is supposed to sign Colin Kaepernick is the Seattle Seahawks. Why, you ask? It's because of Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, as I know all of you have heard, has recently called out the NFL owners saying, you can do anything, but until owners get to know these candidates before the actual interviews and understand that they have to hire people who are different than them, it's not going to really change. No, he was speaking about the unfair hiring practices, but Pete was just asked a couple of weeks ago if Colin deserves another shot, and he responded, I think he does. Well, Pete, the last time Colin was on the market, you had Russell Wilson, and we knew it didn't make any sense to bring in Colin Kaepernick because he was trying to be a starter. You ain't got a quarterback. You have Drew Lock. Put your money where your mouth is. You keep saying this is the second time you've gone on record talking about how much you like Colin and that he deserves a shot. You have a vacant position because Drew Lock is not holding anybody's starting position. Bring in Colin if that's how you feel about it. But there is also another side to that coin. Pete Carroll's comments could possibly be directed to his own ownership and Paul Allen for rejecting his proposal to sign Colin Kaepernick. Pete Carroll might legit be dry snitching on Allen with his statement, and likely if that's what he's doing, he's going to end up coaching on Saturday again because that's going to be the end of his NFL coaching career if he really just put Paul Allen out there like that. But that could be him trying to tell us without telling us that, yeah, I tried to bring Colin in and they wouldn't let me do it. He can't just come out and say it because it'll jeopardize his job. But he might be hinting to us that he actually did try to do it and they wouldn't let him do it. Don't know which side of that coin that he's on.
Yeah.
It's either put your money where your mouth is or, hey, big ups for you dry snitching, Pete. I'll see you on Saturday. He won't be back at USC, but he's going to get a college job.
Oh, my goodness. Saturdays with the boys. Saturdays with Pete Carroll.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. I mean, as far as Colin's actual future, where he's going to go, he's not going to play in the NFL again. He sued the league, and they settled. They paid him to shut up and go away.
Yeah.
They're not hiring you. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Hey, that's why I've gotten sick of talking about him, because we know he ain't playing. It doesn't matter how much practicing and working out that he's been doing, how good his arm looks or doesn't look, how strong it is, how accurate he is. He's not playing in the NFL anymore. He fell on that sword a long time ago. I mean, it's really a moot point. Colin Kaepernick ain't playing for nobody. But just in this particular instance, the Pete Carroll aspect was quite interesting to me. I really would like to know which side of that Pete was on, because he could actually be onto something.
Yeah.
Ain't no telling. It's craziness. So I said we have reached the 8:45, but we're going to keep this thing rolling for just a minute because, man, it's feeling good. I don't even want to take a break in. We're going to move right on into the LSU Tigers. Their head coach for the basketball team, let's be specific, Will Wade, he was fired for paying players. Now, since then, 11 of his players have entered the transfer portal, 2 of them entered the draft, and they've lost 4 top 100 high school recruits since he's been fired. Now, he's being fired for paying players to come in. Since the NIL rule has actually been put into place and players are allowed to get paid, should Wade have been just retroactively punished for this?
I got to say yes and no. And, you know, this was a thing where, of course, you can look at it both ways. And if someone wants to think that it's going to arise and be a problem because you might not crack down on him for the fact of yes, or if you just let it ride, or for the fact of no, or if you might just let it ride. You know, you don't know which way it could go if this type of situation down the road, oh, well, he's been doing it since the 90s, but he stopped right before NIL, but this, and that. There could be so many speculations, right? So they obviously had to act in some sort of reason. And the reason I say yes is because he was doing it since 2017, like you said. And NIL did just become legal 10 months ago in about June of 2021. So clearly what he was doing was illegal. It was against the rules of the NCAA. No question about that. You know, that's something that was speculated for years. We talked about people obviously in college football. How are they affording these outfits, these cars, potentially being in these houses? You know, we saw the type of lavish things that some of these athletes were having long before NIL was a thing, right? So now here's the other question. Since he was fired, are there going to be any other efforts to go look in some suspicions of where people might be paying players, like definitely out of Georgia, out of Alabama, out of Auburn? Like, we had those types of rumors constantly, especially with the big powerhouse schools, you know, LSU football, Clemson football, Ohio State, things like that, Oklahoma. We've heard of the rumors with those big with those big programs. But the reason you could lean no as well is because obviously now that it's legal, and it took them years to, I guess, figure him out if you want to look at it that way. And they eventually made it legal. They literally made it legal to where your players can not only get paid, but they can be contractually bound to a company to receive a lot of money, to literally be put in like the top 1% of the world already, because I mean, these guys are making millions of hundreds of thousands of dollars for literally just obviously promoting themselves without these or throughout these companies. So in my opinion, you know, they usually pay about 32, 35 games in the NCAA season. Give him an 8-game suspension, kind of bring it there, but not all the way for him. And I know some people might say, well, why do a suspension, Adam? Why not just leave him alone? And that could be another aspect as well. It definitely is interesting for sure. But again, are there going to be other investigations into, you know, some other paying players, kind of rumors that we've heard about? That would be fair in that aspect, I think.
Yeah, I mean, initially I was like, man, with the NIL being passed and they're saying players are getting money, we know players have been getting paid since the beginning of college basketball. I was like, this is just stupid. And then I actually did a little bit of research and was like, time out. This guy, he should have been fired 5 years ago. What the hell is going on with the NCAA? The NCAA has text messages from 2017 between Wade and the fiance of a former athlete saying, I need 5 more to put a down payment on a car, put it in the same account.
Wow.
His response is, I'm sorry, you are having money issues. You said we were done after the last transfer I sent, so in my mind, we are done.
Oh, wow. These are recorded texts pulled from Will Wade?
These are texts from him and a former player's fiance back in 2017.
Wow.
Wade also instructed his assistant coach, Armstrong, to provide a recruit. This is a different guy. A recruit's family member and associates $300,000 cash and $50,000 installments, a job with the team, an apartment, and a car for a cousin, a scholarship for a friend, and visas for other basketball players to come to the United States. He got suspended for the 2019 tournament over a wiretap convo of him discussing a strong-ass offer for a recruit. They've been tracking him doing this the entire time he's been there. Like, why is he still coaching? Like, why did it take this long? What kind of privilege is that? I mean, I know the answer to the question, but still, that's ridiculous. He got 5 years, and you've been knowing he's done this? I've seen other programs get fried, a.k.a. USC got murdered over Reggie Bush getting $150,000 in a house for his parents. This is 1,000,000 times worse. I don't see LSU getting sanctions, getting banned from postseason play, getting wins taken away. I kind of
relate there.
Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
How do you... All you did was fire him? Like, he violated so many rules on so many levels. He was giving them the kitchen sink. And then all you got was fired. I don't understand how this is not making more headlines.
Yeah.
Like, I barely heard anything about it. It's been washed all under the table. His name needs to be dragged so far through the mud. He should not be allowed to coach anywhere at any level. Will Wade does not need to get another job coaching.
Ooh.
It's outlandish how far his sanctions went. I just gave you a couple. There's so many more. We don't even have time on the show to give him enough shine to let you know how badly his name should be tarnished.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous. I mean, we're going to move on from Will Wade, show you a couple of guys that need to be put in the ring with Will just for the level of infractions that he's gotten away with. Jesus Christ. I'm glad LSU didn't make it anywhere. He didn't deserve to get anything or any credit for it. So, man, we're going to move on to our fourth versus battle. This time it's the UFC GOAT edition.
GOAT debate.
We got John Bones Jones and Anderson the Spider Silva. My man Adam is going to take away John Bones for you. What you got?
John Bones Jones. Man, I love these verses. They're so fun. A lot of my John Jones highlights here are, you know, I watched a good bit of John Jones throughout the years, of course, but I guess I didn't realize how often this guy, and you can start rolling the clips whenever, no worries. You know, I didn't realize how often this guy just was literally attacking with his elbows like they were butcher knives, like they were meat cleavers. I mean, he would literally bounce your head off the canvas with an elbow, spit an elbow at you, run at you with an elbow. Like, it was literally his jab. It was his right hand. Like, it was his haymaker. Yeah, John Jones, either number 5 or number 1. It doesn't matter. We're just going to kind of run through all of them. So you'll see here, of course, John Jones in a fight with, who is he up against here? I think this is DC. Yeah. Fight against DC, of course, big fight for him. We know who Daniel Cormier is, too, as well. He's obviously running a podcast now. Very well-respected guy at the UFC community. One of the best of all time, you know, and John Jones just making easy work of him.
Cried after this fight.
You did?
He did.
Oh, yeah. And John Jones, just a true freak of nature. Like, when I think of John Jones, I think of like a Jimmy Graham at tight end or like a Kyle Pitts at tight end, like just a freak of nature at their position, like Cam Chancellor at safety, Micah Parsons at linebacker, like people that you know could potentially be better in other spots, but they want to focus so hardly on that one highlight of their game, and they're still great for it. And I feel like that's really where John Jones kind of channeled a lot of his greatness. So, yeah, John Jones just with the strength, the elbows, the knees, just a mean bastard in general. Love that guy.
Oh, yeah, man. So let me give you some of these Spider highlights, because before John Jones came around, Anderson Silva was easily and undisputed the greatest UFC fighter we ever saw.
Oh, yeah.
Look how he just dismantled this guy. Straight punishment, knees, leg kicks. Now you going to get up? Oh, okay. I got more. Eat that.
Just go
Take
down,
it to the leg,
bro. Just go down, bro.
Like, this is just brutal. Knees to the face.
This is literally a schoolyard. He didn't even let him ground and pound. He's like, wave it off. This is a schoolyard fight. I can't watch anymore.
Oh, yeah. Anderson Silva. I mean, he was a super class act in the ring. He get out there and clown with you. You see just holding on to him. You get hit with anything. Knee all the way to the face, standing straight up. Like, you don't ever even see it coming.
Leg there. Oh, just more jabs, more knees. Just a schoolyard fight. He's bullying him. He's taking his lunch money right now in the cafeteria up against a snack machine.
He never misses any strikes.
Yeah.
You in there trying to cover up. He's so calculated with it. Hold you with the left hand. Like, no, you stay right there. Stay right there.
Yeah. Love Anderson Silva. Definitely a GOAT. Definitely a greatest of all time.
Oh, yeah. Just straight brutal. Put him to sleep. I mean, he looked like he wanted to quit. He should have just went down. I mean, this just got ugly. And the referee actually is dirty for letting him get beat like that. It's like, bro, he's been out. Like, come on, man, stop the fight. Stop it.
Man.
Anderson looking like, you want me to hit him again? Come on. All right.
That's fine.
All right, what you got for number 4?
Tough stuff, man. John Bones Jones, yet again, just sheer strength here. I mean, taking the guy down to the ground, little rock bottom impression there. And then just a ridiculous ground. That elbow right there. That elbow right there. I'd like to know if his nose was broken after the fight. It'll show you. Is there a slow-mo for it? Is this the one? Is it? No, there's one on here where it shows. He throws another very similar elbow, but it shows a slow-mo. Y'all see it. It's right here. Ooh. You don't know if that hits the nose and breaks the bridge or chips a tooth. I mean, what's happened? Is that hitting the jaw, the cheekbone? No, nobody wants to get smacked by that. We'll see it here one more time. Best rock bottom impression. Y'all remember, too, to get in the comments. Let us know who's winning these versus battles every week. Boom! Knocking them out like that. Call the show, too, 678-871-9602. Check us out on social media. Bringing the versus battles week after week. And we don't know if we'll ever run out of ideas. Y'all can bring us one, and if we like it, we'll throw it up here. But John Bones Jones just murders people with elbows. We should call him John Elbows Jones.
Difference between that and a rock bottom is he actually did it.
Right. I was just talking about The Rock last night, man.
This next Silva highlight. Hit him with the Floyd.
Right.
Put him down. Pound him. All right, now let's chill out for a minute. We gonna back up. All right, let him up. Get up. Like, that's enough. Shake his hand. We'll start over. Hit him with a little bit more of this Floyd.
Disrespect.
No. Step back. All right, charge him one more time. Go to sleep.
Oh.
It's like, no.
He said no.
No.
He said please.
He had the airplane on him.
Oh, man.
That sharp, quick left, like he hit him one of them Bruce Lee lefts. Like, he didn't even really take it out. Just pap. Every strike on point. See just how disrespectful he is with it. Like, okay, I'm gonna get up.
Ridiculous.
Make you feel good about yourself. Nope, can't hit him.
Got a second one there.
Now
and
watch
the third boy as he steps in.
Don't rush him. Step back.
Yank.
Just go to sleep.
Right across the chin. He said, no, please.
And you see,
I beg of you.
Just,
please.
Quick right hand.
No more. Yeah. Both of these guys had insane ground and pounds as well. I mean, you got on the ground with either Jones or Silva, and there's a very good chance that the fight could be over. Yeah, these guys were just absolutely nasty.
Got a 3.
Right. Let's see. Here at number 3. Is this I think this is the same one, G. Yeah, it is the same one. No worries, though, bro.
3.
You're good. We know you gotta roll through them there. No worries. Some of these do look similar, though, so I didn't know. Yeah, okay, here we go. This is just an elbow massacre. I mean, just literally beating dude's face in with the elbow right here. That's like 7 or 8 of them. And as soon as he starts wailing, it just, there's no going back. John Jones, if John Jones took you down, he was coming with the bows. He was coming with the ground and pound. He could submit you. He could beat you on the ground. He could stand with you if you wanted to. He could kick well. John Jones was truly, he had a couple of holes in his game, which what great fighter does. I mean, you can only do so much, with the human body, but he was truly a Swiss Army knife in the octagon. One of my first fighters that I really started following heavy. Definitely liked him a lot. Okay. Him, DC, of course. So Anderson Silva, but yeah, vicious elbows again, just meat cleavers from John Jones.
Nasty. You see him with the duck, get him with the knee to the face. Oof! Just put him all in the ropes, not just pound. Hit him with them bows, pound him. Sheesh. Oh, you gonna get up? You gonna get up? All right, you want more? Get that knee. Hold on, now watch you gonna just hold him.
Tag and tag. Tag and bag.
Okay.
Oh, he just fell out of nowhere.
Just keep pounding.
He's like, just. Oh.
Yeah, ref like, damn,
Ref just let him just murder people. Hold on to him.
Bouncing his head off the octagon.
You see how nonchalant he just dodged that and then put the knee right in his face?
Ridiculous.
He hitting him with whatever's available. It's like, you dodge. All right, get this leg then. You get up, catch another knee. He's like, man, I don't even know where to block.
That's the bad part is when you're gassed or you're getting your ass beat, don't stand back up. It's just don't. In the UFC, don't stand back up. You're obviously just an easier target after that. So definitely tough stuff there.
What you got?
Number 2 for John Bones Elbows Meat Cleaver Butcher Knife Jones. Man, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This is the one where the replay actually hits. Just more vicious elbows. Beating him over the back of the head. You'll see it. Oof.
Oof.
In the arms of the angels.
You don't even know what day it is.
Boom. Oh, yeah. I would probably take a solid $10,000 to take an elbow like that. I would.
That's it.
What, 100,000? Maybe more. 50K? 20? Oh, God. Yeah, I'd rather be punched square in the bridge of my nose than catch an elbow on the side of my head. Seriously.
Man, he could have put you to sleep like or in a coma.
Right.
Getting hit like that right there.
Gee, yeah, that.
But check this Anderson highlight. He's about to catch this leg kick. Sit down.
Oh.
Get him out of here. Get him
all
out of
his
here.
momentum was, God.
It's over.
God.
It's over.
He literally slept him off the counter.
And you got to get the pose. Watch it. Catch that.
One.
Sit.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just 9 straight.
Oh, you thought you was
Pow
coming
right
with
Nikisha.
Give me that leg.
Pow right Nikisha. Pow right
He punched
Nikisha.
you while he was holding your leg.
Yeah. And you know that's tough too because momentum was coming towards him. He hit him hard, obviously, because the guard was non-existent, but the face was totally existent. Poor guy.
Couldn't do anything. He couldn't even roll over. He
Nope.
was just eating them.
Yeah, straight up getting demolished. All right.
All right. What's your number one
Number
highlight?
1 highlight for John Bones Jones. Absolutely tripping someone, slamming them down by the shoulder, and just, again, a vicious ground and pound elbows. I think here with these highlights, it just shows the resiliency and the pure strength of John Jones. Now, let's not also forget, he actually got disqualified in this match because of how he was hammering down with the elbows. But I thought the way he was, specifically that slam, and then the way he was essentially grounding and pounding with elbows was nuts. But again, just speaking of John Jones, his resiliency, his strength, the fact that he could finish you in multiple ways, submission, knockout, ground and pound, whatever the case may be, truly a legend. And I honestly wish John Jones still fought. Didn't Anderson Silva box for half a minute there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I thought so. And he had praise from John Jones, I'm pretty sure, DC and stuff. So
Now check this number
Yeah,
one. It's
cool stuff.
nasty. Straight kick to the face. Go to sleep. One hit a quitter. Yeah, okay. I'm done with you.
Ooh.
He don't know where he is.
Oh.
He has no idea where he is.
Oh.
Catch the sole of that foot right in your mouth.
Oh.
Just sizing him up. You looking for a jab, Now here it comes. Leg straight buckled. Look like straight jello out there.
Oh.
He had him looking like a baby deer. He might have torn his ACL too.
Good Lord.
Your knee ain't supposed to bend back like that.
Oh.
Right leg is done. He couldn't even get his arms up to block. He was just like, oh my God, what just happened?
If the legs buckle off the rip, man, it's probably not about to be a good day for you.
Oh yes. We need y'all in the comments to weigh in. Which highlights did y'all like better? Who won the versus battle? Did you like the John Bones Jones or did you like Anderson the Spider Silver? Let us know. Chime in because we have reached the top of the hour. We got to throw this thing over to Mike Beasley. Y'all keep it locked.
Yes, sir, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, like always, every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock to Petty Sports with Famous Facts Feeds and Adam Lewis. Thank you, everybody, for sharing the show. Sharing is caring. We love you guys for that. And thank you for everybody that's still joining and driving up the numbers over on the Facebook page. we'd really love it if you guys could go over to YouTube and kind of like show that same love, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let one get more than the other, you know? Go to your favorite podcast platform of preference. That way you can check out Petty Sports as well over there. Petty Sports with the Z. You can go to Apple, iHeart, Google, Spotify, and listen to the guys on your way home, in your man cave, she shed, and all that good stuff right there. You know what I'm saying? And all of this is brought to you by Kingz Broadcasting Studios. Contact Kingz Broadcasting Studios for all your podcast needs, all right? And, of course, Pulse 880 Radio. Google Pulse 880 Radio. You see that QR code that keeps popping up on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen? Just go ahead and scan that, and it will take you to KingzBroadcasting.com. It will take you to Pulse 880 Radio. All the links are there for you to contact the show, or if you have suggestions or interest in even starting your own podcast, all right? So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Call in 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. That's how you can be a part of the show tonight and join the conversation. We love to hear from you guys. We see the chat room jumping and all that good stuff right there, man. Thank you for everybody that's there doing what you do. Congratulations, Mike, for winning the big March Madness tournament with Kansas, and better luck next year for everybody else, all right? So, yeah. Thank you. Call your friend, neighbor, coworker. Text your friend, neighbor, coworker. Let them know the guys at the table and it's on and popping, all right? ATL Hope, back to the regular scheduled program.
You already know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the top of the second hour on Petty Sports. You know we go live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It is 9:06, not too far past the top of the hour. But again, don't forget to call the show, 678-871-9602. What live podcast on YouTube and social media can you actually call and be a part of? Yes, of course you can do it on the radio, but we're not on the radio. We're right in your pocket. We're right on your TV screen, smartphone, your Walkman, whatever you want to call it. Be sure to check out Pulse 880 Radio, Kingz Broadcasting Studios as well. We got a new location coming later on in the year, so you can definitely rent out the studio if you're looking to get a presence on social media. And we got a loaded second hour, just a few segments here, but they are pretty deep, and we will go ahead and jump in to the NBA playoff tournament, the play-in tournament, excuse me. My feelings on this have kind of changed, and we're definitely going to talk about that as we get through this segment. So it does start on April 12th, runs through April 15th. Excuse me. And just for the people that might not know how the infamous play-in tournament works out there, we got you a little graphic on the screen. So the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th seed will play in the East, and the West will square off in a last chance battle to make the playoffs. The 7 plays the 8, and the 9 plays the 10. The winner of the 7 and the 8 gets the 7 seed in the playoffs, and then the loser of the 7 and the 8, oddly enough, gets another chance to play the winner, who I think out of the 9 and the 10 should maybe get the 8. But either way, the loser of the 7 and the 8 will play the winner of the 9 and the 10 for the 8th and final spot in the playoffs. As of today, March 6, 2022, 9:07 p.m. on the show, the Eastern Conference is 7 Cavs, 8 Nets, 9 Hawks, 10 Hornets. We'll start in the East. Fees. What two teams are coming out of the Eastern Conference play-in games, and why?
The Eastern Conference, I've got Brooklyn beating Cleveland to take the 7th seed, so they will walk into the playoffs and likely face Boston, which that'll be a great first-round matchup, especially so long as Kyrie is able to actually play. But I've got Atlanta beating Charlotte and then beating Cleveland to take the 8th seed. I think they will slide into these playoffs. So I've got Brooklyn. Brooklyn will face off against Boston. I'm going to take Brooklyn in that matchup. Atlanta against Miami. I think that is the end of the road for the Hawks. I mean, it's been a long road. It's actually kind of foul that they're doing this. I mean, the Eastern Conference isn't as bad as the West.
Right.
Seeing as how Brooklyn and Atlanta have the same record right now. Right. So it's like, all right, like that's fair that they're in this play-in tournament since they're continually forcing this nonsense on us to watch it.
Right.
But I'm going to take the Hawks over the Hornets and then the Hawks over the Cavaliers because I don't think the Hornets or the Cavs have what it takes at this level, especially in a one-and-done game.
Right.
I think Trey can actually beat either one of those teams.
Absolutely.
With one of his masterpieces.
He just showed you he could beat the Nets,
It's a lot more difficult to do that in a series. One game, this is like the NCAA tournament. You're like, man, I'm taking the best player.
Just get it. Absolutely. I'm honestly right there alongside with you, Fee. So I am going to take the Nets at 7. The 7-seeded Nets will play the 8th-seeded Nets will play the 7th-seeded Cavaliers. I think they win there, so the Nets will jump into the 7th spot. And, Nets are up 2-1 in the season series here against the Cavs. And it has been slim margins of victory throughout everything, but when you just take a look at the rosters, KD, Kyrie, Drummond, Seth Curry, I take them obviously over Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Evan Mobley, Kevin Love. You got experience, you got talent, you got situational awareness, and especially coaching here more than anything. And we see what the Nets have been, especially since Kyrie has been cleared to obviously come back. Especially since Kyrie has been cleared to obviously come back here. And, just look at the tear that he's been on within the last, 7 or 8 games, averaging like 25 to 30 points a game. Just absolutely going off. And we knew that, obviously, when Kyrie came over to Brooklyn, he was going to be this type of player. We knew that when him and Kevin Durant got together, and people hoped with James Harden as well, that it would have been what it is. But I do have confidence in the Nets. They should get the 7 seed, no problem here. Now, over to the Atlanta Hawks. We'll have them at 8 as well. They do beat the Hornets, I think, fairly easily. Could be a nail-biter with the Cavaliers. I don't agree that they might have to play, or that they do have to play again, rather, but it is what it is when you fall here in the play-in tournament. So they are also 2-1. I believe they will go 2-1 over their next 3 against the Wizards, the Heat, and the Rockets, more than likely losing to Miami. But the Hawks have been kind of not on a tear lately, but they've been beating good teams. So if they went 3-0, it wouldn't hurt them, and I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, either. And again, they have been hot over their last 20 games or so, winning about 15 of those. You got your role players like Bogdanovich, Herter, and Gallinari just really performing well within that stretch. And I got to say, if John Collins was really in this playoffs healthy at this moment, I don't think it would be a debate over Charlotte. I don't think it would be a debate over Cleveland. And the Hawks have split with Charlotte as well, winning by double digits, losing by about 5 on average. So definitely going to have the Nets at the 7 seed, the Hawks at the 8 seed, rounding out the Eastern Conference play-in. All right, Fees, now in the Western Conference, we've got Minnesota Timberwolves at 7, the LA Clippers at 8, the New Orleans Pelicans at 9, and the San Antonio Spurs that are kind of turning up at the 10th seed. Who do you have coming out of the Western Conference play-in games, and why?
The Western Conference play-in games, I'm definitely taking Minnesota to beat this wavering the Clippers are actually been very surprising for them to be playing this well despite so many people out.
Right.
I mean, it's actually, I don't even know what to say about them. I don't think they're good enough to beat Ant-Man and crew, though, not in one game.
Ant-Man and crew.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking Anthony Edwards. Just like I told you, I will take Trae Young over anybody he's playing against between the Hornets and the Cavaliers. I'm taking Ant-Man in this game against this decrepit Clippers squad that has somehow pulled their lives together to really be in this playoff race. So I'm going to give Minnesota Timberwolves the 7th seed, and I'm also giving the Clippers the 8th seed. The Clippers will beat the Pelicans to get the 8th seed because you see, I just completely skipped the Spurs. The Pelicans will beat the Spurs, and the Pelicans will lose to the Clippers. But the reason why I skipped the Spurs is because the Pelicans and the Spurs, neither one of them they don't deserve to be there. They're in the play-in game with a chance to make the playoffs when both the Timberwolves and the Clippers are 5 games ahead of them. They don't deserve a shot. Just because you made this tournament and you got to take 7 through 10, that you give these two teams that they got no business sniffing these playoffs. I don't care how hot you get at the end when you're that many games behind. It's like the Clippers and the Timberwolves made the playoffs. If you're in the 7th or the 8th spot, you're in. You still got to play in? It's ridiculous when the records are like that. In the East, you can at least explain it. It's really tight. It's not tight in the West. They should only have a play-in tournament in the East.
Yeah.
They shouldn't even do it on this side.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to get into, how we feel about the play-in tournament, what it's turned into and everything. It's definitely nuts for sure, especially like you're saying there when you have the 9 and the 10. The fact that the 10th seed could lose and beat the winner of the 7 and the 8 and jump 2 seeds because they have one good game. That's what I don't agree with, but we'll get into that here in a second. What 2 teams do I have coming out of the Western Conference play-in games? These are really close. I think it's easy to go Spurs over Pelicans. I don't doubt Greg Popovich. I don't doubt, DeJounte Murray over there. I don't doubt all the guys that they're trying to obviously bring together, continue to build that chemistry. And when you talk about, being in a Western Conference, a part of the NBA that has seen some great days, has seen some bad days, but if there's one thing that Western Conference has always seen, it's Greg Popovich with the San Antonio Spurs. Excuse me. And I think when you talk about the fact that, his basketball mindset, the fact that he's been there for so long, the fact that, a lot of people were wrong about the San Antonio Spurs when you look at the fact that what people thought they were going to do in the season, where they thought they would actually be at this point, if they would even be kind of fighting for the play-in tournament at one point or another. And here we are. But I am going to take the Spurs over the Pelicans. I think talent, I think coaching, and just overall, chemistry and culture will definitely take San Antonio over New Orleans. Now, when you talk about the Clippers and the Timberwolves, this is one that I really feel like you could go either way, because when you look at the Timberwolves, you've obviously got D'Angelo Russell, you've got Karl Anthony Towns, you've got Anthony Edwards. Who was the 4th player that I was literally just taking a look at? Patrick Beverley, of course. Maybe even a Jared Vanderbilt, that could, plug in. And when you talk about the fact that, we've seen the Timberwolves again kind of up and down throughout the season, a team that they know their identity in a way, but they're still trying to find it as they get closer to the play-in tournament. And when you go up against a team like the Clippers, who, what is Kawhi Leonard going to be? What is Paul George going to be? Are they going to be available? How are they going to be clicking? Is the coaching actually going to be solid enough that day? Because we've seen spurts of inconsistency with the coaching in Los Angeles. I think this series is a coin flip, to be honest with you. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take the Timberwolves over the Clippers. I wanted to take the Clippers over the Timberwolves, but I just don't trust the help that the Clippers have dealt with this year. I think the Timberwolves overall are deeper. They play a little bit tougher, and I really think they're just more hungry at this point. I'd love to pick Kawhi Leonard. I'd love to pick Paul George, but at the end of the day, something is telling me that the Minnesota Timberwolves will definitely win this one out here. So you're going to have the Spurs at the 7 seed and then the Wolves at the 8 seed. That's how it will play out. Now, Fees, for the 3rd installment of what we thought was NBA bubble exclusive play-in tournament, now is the 3rd year in a row. Are you a fan of this, seeing it a couple seasons later?
Not at all. Like that was supposed to just be for the bubble.
Right.
Because of the fact that they took 4 months off and then they came back and they had, 10 games left of the regular season for the end, didn't do the play-in tournament. It seemed fair. At that point, it was like, okay, this is all new. Right. So you added another little nuance to kind of make the game a little bit more fair and just to kind of shake it up a little bit. But now we're back to full 82-game seasons. Right. The season's already too long in the first place.
Exactly.
The players don't play half the games. People are getting shut down by their teams. They're not hurt. They're like, we're in the position that we're in. We need to rest these guys. There's nothing you can do about it. Now you play 82 games and turn around and have to play a little money grab tournament. The NBA put this thing together.
Money grab tournament.
Just so now somebody can sneak into the playoffs when they had no chance of getting in there.
Yep.
And
parity.
You got a team.
Parity.
Say you're the 7th or the 8th seed already. You made the playoffs.
Boom.
You lose your first play-in game. Now you got to play again.
Yep.
You got to play the winner between the 9th and the 10th.
Yep.
You win that game, you may have dropped from 7th to 8th. You got a worse matchup for the first round. Yep. Not to mention, the play-in tournament is over on April 15th. You know when the playoffs start?
16th.
April 16th.
Yeah. So not only do you have to bust ass in a BS play-in tournament to see if you can keep your seeding that you kind of already rightfully earned, then you have to come back and play a full-fledged 7-game series the week after. The day after, excuse me.
They might as well just forfeit game 1. You had to play 2 winner-go-home games, one in which you lost, so the second one was really stressful.
Yeah.
You spent everything, and I was like, whew, game 1's tomorrow. Damn.
Bright and early, number 2 seed, right out there in Milwaukee. Hell no. Who wants that?
I got to play the best team in the conference.
Right.
The next day.
Yep.
It's it was palatable.
Damn.
For the bubble. But they should not have continued this thing on into the regular length seasons.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know we've actually talked about the play-in tournament, I think, twice, if I'm not mistaken, but I know for a fact one time before. And I remember when we first talked about it, y'all can go on record and say, oh, Adam, you're kind of changing your stance. I absolutely am. I thought when the play-in tournament first came out, I thought it was a good way to kind of, like I mentioned when Fees was giving his take there, not only bring some parity into the league, but give a chance for teams that might have been on the cusp, obviously dealing with injuries, maybe have a chance to peek in. But much like Fees last week with the, overtime rule, I'm not here for it. It makes the league softer. The NBA play-in tournament literally makes the league softer, and here's why. So you're telling me after I play 82 games where I'm pretty sure if we took a survey, you could establish the NBA season within 40 to 60 games. I'd even go to say 45 to 50. That'd probably be a sweet spot. These are top of the line athletes, right? So after playing way more games than you should and finally falling in that top 8, if you're a 7 or an 8, not only are we going to question your seeding because of how well you've played to clearly earn that seed, because we have standings, we have divisions, we have conferences in the NBA. Now you have to play it out there. If you win, great, you're in. Don't worry about it. But if you lose, you're still in, but you drop a seed below. But then if you lose again, you're absolutely out. But wait a second. So I can be a 7 seed and lose twice and be out of the playoffs after I've already did better by scraping up to the 7. So I don't have to have the 8 playing the 1. 7 playing the 2 is still tough, obviously. And then again, you have the 9 and the 10. So usually the 9th and the 10th seed are the team that maybe got kind of hot, slowed down. Whatever the case is, they're sitting at 9 and 10 for a reason, right? So 9 and 10. If you lose, you're out, rightfully so. But the fact that a 10 seed could win, catch the 7 or the 8 seed, whatever they're at, that they have to play on the next day on a bad game, you just went from the 10 to the 8 like that. I get it. You win 2 games, crunch time when you're supposed to, you get rewarded. But the fact that we're questioning standings that are already there, and then we're giving a 9 and 10 seed that have no business being there a chance to jump in. So what happens when you have a team that's 12, 13 games below 500, like the San Antonio Spurs, and they're going to go in the West and play the Suns, go play the Warriors? People are going to be pissed. No one's going to buy tickets to that. No one's going to want to watch that. The NBA already tanks in terms of rating anyways, so I definitely am switching the stance here. I'm not a fan of the play-in tournament. It softens up the league. You're literally telling me that we've established standings, but we just want to make sure, so let's play 2 extra games after the season's already long enough, and then didn't even think about it like that, Fees. Oh, next day, you're playing the 1 or the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Have fun. Here's a 7-game series with LeBron, or not with LeBron, with Giannis or Embiid or Curry or Devin Booker. Like, have fun. That's what you have to face after the play-in tournament.
Look at it from this standpoint. The NBA is already the only one of the major sports leagues where over half the teams in the league make the playoffs.
Yep.
You got 16 out of 30.
Yep.
Now you just added 4 more into the mix.
Yep.
That's literally, you've taken it to 67% of the league makes the playoffs. I mean, does it even really matter? How much does it mean to make the playoffs anymore?
Exactly.
Like, how much of an accomplishment is that? We discussed that with the NFL when they added 1 more team.
Yep.
But still, even with the 14, that's still not half the league. Definitely not over half the league.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting to the point where
We're from 12 to 14.
if you want to have this holistic NBA thing where you're like, oh, we want all the teams to have a chance, why don't you just make it a field of 32 and start it from like the second round of the NCAA tournament format?
Right. March Madness, baby.
Just go 1 through 16 on each side.
1 and done it.
Or you could
Play it
just
out.
take the best records and get rid of the conferences and reseed them based off records.
Yeah.
And let them play it out like that.
Damn, that's like a whole nother segment we could really have on the show. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that would, it seems like that's what they're moving towards.
Yeah.
You're giving everybody a chance. Like, all right, like, you want to see how good these guys can perform when it's 1 game winner take all?
Uh-huh.
Because these 7-game series are way different from what we watch in March Madness.
Yeah.
You put these NBA guys in that situation.
In the first round.
See how that works. Yeah, I mean, they extended it because they want more money.
Right.
More games, more TV time.
That's what I thought too, because the
More people in
NFL
stands.
Yep, the NFL is taking over. NBA ratings continue to go down. So again, let's question the standings that we already have so we can get more viewing time. So we can now have play-in tournament stats. Get the hell out of here. Like, we're just wasting time. Just put the 7 and 8 seed in. Let's go. Or do a 32 March Madness style that thing out. I mean, I'm down either way. Just I'm not here for the play-in tournament at all. It's already hard enough to get through 82 games. NBA players, and I don't say this in a bad way, NBA players might already be some of the most brittle people on earth because they are playing court end to court end every single night. And now you want an extra 2 games for them. After already trying to get within that top 8 seeding, of the conference. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I liked it at first, but 3 seasons in, I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Especially in an injury-riddled season like we've seen.
Yeah, it's entirely too much. I mean, if you want to improve the product, get rid of some of those games.
Yep. Drop it down to 60 games.
The ratings will go way up. If you, like, I was absolutely going to give you the exact same number. That you cut it to 60.
Yeah, cut it to 60 games.
You cut it to 60, the games will mean so much more.
Cut it to 60 and you'll have more fans. You'll have more people being able to cover it.
Yeah, people won't be able, players won't be so apt to miss games just because, man, all these back-to-backs. They shouldn't have the back-to-backs because they play too much.
Right.
I mean, who the hell decided to play 82 games anyway?
Right.
Why did they play so many?
Right.
We've heard stars come on and admit that they don't play all the games.
Right.
I mean, the most famous that came out was Paul Pierce. When the Celtics were in that run from 2008 to 2010, he was like, man, we didn't need to try to win all those games. We just need to make the playoffs, and then we'll go from there. Doesn't matter what seed we are. We'll be who we play. Mm-hmm. They play too much, especially when you get teams that are aging.
Yep.
Like, it's entirely too much. And just like you were saying to your point that those guys are brittle, it's not even because of their conditioning. They're so long.
Right.
It's like, man, you're way more apt. I mean, anyone listening, I know you know people that either were former NBA players, maybe played in college, but, every person you know that's over 6'4" walks like their knees don't work anymore.
Right.
Once they get over about 40-something years old and they're that tall, they can't hardly move because, when you're that tall, it's just like, man, that's a lot of stress on your body. It's just like what we've been saying about Zion and his weight and his size. It's just he's so big, that's happening to him early. But it eventually happens to all of these guys. You're overworking them.
Yep.
I mean, they're playing at such a high level. They've got to get breaks. Most of the other leagues, the players, outside of baseball, but it's not as strenuous as what they're doing up and down the court. The other leagues usually play once a week. You may get a game, 2 games in a week, but they don't play that much.
Right.
You got to give them recovery time.
Yep.
I think guys will play longer. They play harder. We get a better product. Cut it out. They play too much.
Yep. There might have been speculation around the bubble, but hell, you obviously gave guys 4 months off and they had very, very fresh legs. Fresh legs also equate to less playing time, which they obviously had time off. If you take 20 games away, I'd even venture to say, Fees, we could do 50 games. Seriously, hell. If we're being really, really serious right now, why would the NBA need any more than 50 games to determine who the best team is? Really 40, but I could see maybe throwing in an extra 10, just to make everybody play a couple of times, however you want to, obviously fill it out the way the NFL, Major League Baseball does their schedule. But yeah, I would venture to say that realistically 50 to 60 games is the most that the NBA should have.
You could charge more
Absolutely.
to get into the games because they're more exclusive.
Yep.
The players are going to play harder.
Yep.
It's far less likely that the player that you actually paid to see
is hurt,
does not play in the game.
Yep.
It works all the way around. The networks will bid harder because there's not as many games to get.
Come on, Adam Silver. I respect you a lot. You're one of the best commissioners out there in a rough commissioner world. Let's make it happen, man. Do away with this tournament. Knock the games down. You'll make more money. Trust me.
Yep, they will probably involve a pay cut initially, and that's why the players will be like, hell no.
Yep, exactly. Nope, arbitration. I need more money.
NBA Players Association wouldn't allow it, even though it actually would be benefiting them in the long haul.
I forgot you need more money for every single guaranteed contract that's in the NBA. Yeah, sorry, you need more money, right? Every penny is guaranteed to y'all. Ridiculous.
Sad.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Do away with that thing.
Yeah. All right, man. Bell, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to you a couple minutes early here before we swing on over into the NFC East postseason wrap. Of course, we go team by team. Ladies and gentlemen, Bell, over to you before we bring it back.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Fees and Adam Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in to Petty Sports Wednesday night edition brought to you by Kingz Broadcasting Studios. Contact Kingz Broadcasting Studios for all your podcast needs. And, of course, Pulse 880 Radio, 24/7 internet radio station. Just type it in and enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Pulse 880 Radio. And go to your favorite podcast platform of preference and type in Petty Sports as well. And listen to the guys right there in your car. Download some of your favorite episodes of the show, right? All right, and share it with your buddies, friends, and whoever. You know what I'm saying? Some of your sports fanatic buddies, Frank Dinkins or whatever you want to call them. And
Dookies.
Dookies. All right. Dookie juice. Yeah, that's enough of that. Yes. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here at the table with the guys, making it do what it do. We greatly appreciate it. 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. And like Adam just mentioned, we're here at the bottom of the hour, and 30 minutes of the show left. So call in before it's too late. Get your opinion in. We'd love to hear from you. Chat room still jumping like always. Hey, go to YouTube, subscribe to the page, hit the notification bell. Subscribe. Do us a big solid. Help drive some of those numbers over there and tickle that algorithm, all right? And same thing on Facebook, Book of Face, and all that right there, man. Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Go type in Petty Sports and show some love, man. It's all about the numbers. It's all about you guys. You know what I mean? Everybody that shared the show and joined those different pages, thank you. If you haven't, hey, what you waiting on, all right? Hit that QR button or scan that QR code right there at the bottom of your screen, man. You can hit all the links that Kingz Broadcasting that they're affiliated with, you know what I'm saying? So right there, if you click that QR code, you can go right to the radio station. You can go to the Petty Sports different social media platforms. And, hey, it's just that simple. Thank you so much. Hey, cool. Hey, if you can tell me who I had lunch with today, I got $50 waiting for you. All right? Try your luck. You know what I'm saying? Try me. Guess who I had lunch with today? And I got a small bag for you, all right? Hey, yeah, hold back to the regular scheduled program.
Mike, I'll take a hint on who you had lunch with. I could always use $50 over here.
I was about to say, do we get the guest too?
Right, shoot. Teammates included. Appreciate everybody for sticking with us tonight. Absolutely loaded show that has been rolling right along, and we are right here at the 9:30 mark on the show, fresh out of the sponsor break, jumping right into the NFC East team-by-team postseason wrap-up. Appreciate everybody sticking these out with us. We absolutely love to go through your favorite NFL team. We'll talk about what we said in the preseason, give them a grade for this year, and then tell you their biggest need walking into 2022. We'll start with the NFC least, the Dookie division, if you will. Dallas Cowboys. Feast, tell me how you felt about them in the preseason. What are your grades for them, and what is their biggest need or needs walking into next year?
Well, I didn't really have high aspirations for any team in this division walking into the season because if you remember a season ago, this was the worst division in the history of football record-wise.
Yep.
I mean, it was sad. All four teams sucked last year. Well, the year before last. This season, my expectations for the Dallas Cowboys were 9-8, and I figured that would actually win the division because the division is still bad. They actually pulled out a 12-5 season and won the division. They went into the playoffs as a 3 seed. So, I mean, my grade overall for them, it's a C. Even though they won the division, they went in as a 3 seed. The season went about as well as it possibly could, and then they lost at home in the wild card to the San Francisco 49ers, who have a rookie quarterback and a quarterback that can barely stay healthy that they're looking to move. It's like their quarterback situation is in so much turmoil. It's like Dallas is supposed to have everything together. On paper, coming into this season, and when they walked into the playoffs, there is no reason why they should not have made a deep run into the playoffs, which is why I'm giving them a C. I mean, they had every requisite weapon that you would think that they should in order to make a deep run, if not all the way to the Super Bowl. I mean, Dak had a really good year. We don't know what happened to Zeke. They had a host of wide receivers, which they just let that whole thing get blown up. So, I mean, overall, I think the season, it was a season written with underachievement. They should have gone farther into the playoffs. They had the easiest schedule in the league. I mean, between it was, I think Dallas was 31st, and the Philly might have been the easiest. But because of how bad these teams were, they had an easy road this year. So they weren't banged up. They made it into the postseason, and they just couldn't convert. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of credit that I can give them there. As far as their biggest needs, wide receiver is absolutely the focus.
Yeah.
I mean, they let go of Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson. sent them both to AFC teams. I mean, that hurts. CeeDee Lamb looked good, but we don't know if he can handle being the number one receiver. I mean, we've seen it time and time again when the number one guy leaves and the two who we thought was actually as good as the one was only flourishing because all the attention was going to the one. Amari Cooper was the one that was drawing the number one corner on the other team. Amari was the one that was getting the double teams, so CD was eating. Yep. Cedric was eating. You let Cedric and Amari go and just left CD on an island thinking that Michael Gallup, who rarely is healthy, is the answer. We don't know how many games you're going to get out of Gallup, but we also don't know if CD can hold up to that kind of pressure. We saw it happen to Calvin Ridley, and he had a meltdown. We saw it happen to Juju Smith. You see, he doesn't play in Pittsburgh anymore. Like it happens constantly when a number two guy is thrust into that one spot. So, I mean, as good as CeeDee Lamb looked, the jury's out on it. They need to bring in some more wide receiver talent like yesterday, and I don't know if they're even going to be able to address it in the draft. Just like I told you before, I could really see the Dallas Cowboys really going out on a limb and signing Antonio Brown. Just because they need someone that can draw the coverage and beat it. With as much off-the-field baggage as he comes with, he's still one of the best receivers in the league when he's on the field. And Dallas they're a clown show anyway. I mean, I think they would really invite that. They like attention. They don't care how they get it. You know, AB's good for that.
Right.
But, I mean, with Zeke seeming to be on an exponential decline with his age, I mean, that could be due to their depleted offensive line, but we don't know. He doesn't look like the old Zeke. But they need to address the O-line. They need wide receivers, and they possibly need another running back. Even though they're paying Zeke a lot of money, they need to bring in somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Fees. A lot of similarities that we're going to have there as I run through Dallas here. So as we get into the NFC East postseason team-by-team review/wrap-up here, starting with the Dallas Cowboys in the preseason, I thought the defense would have vastly improved after they used 6 picks on defense in the draft. And I did say that Micah Parsons would be the best defensive player for them on the field, and it kind of looks like that was the case. Of course, we had Trayvon Diggs, but Micah Parsons was absolutely running from edge to edge on that field, and clearly we know why he won defensive rookie of the year. And I did say that Dak would come back and play well, and that Zeke might be able to bounce back from the couple of rough seasons or down years that he had compared to what we had seen from Zeke before. And I gave them an 8-9 record. Now, in terms of a grade for the Dallas Cowboys, I gave them a B because I did feel like that they exceeded expectations of the regular season, but again, still fell short in the postseason, still showed us that they were frauds, still showed us that they couldn't play in the big moment, that Dak is still good, not great, that Zeke and Pollard are still kind of hit and miss, and that Mike McCarthy, I was happy when McCarthy came into Dallas, but he's just not the guy. He's not going to be the guy that takes you to the promised land. And when you look at how Dallas, you said it, Fees, plenty of times in the year, Dallas was unfairly the best offense for most of the time in the NFL when they were truly clicking on all cylinders. And they go out in the wild card round. It's absolutely embarrassing. You expect more of them for that. You expect them to get a bye, and they don't. Now, in terms of biggest needs here, got to agree with you on wide receiver. Now, of course, they do still have CeeDee Lamb. They do still have Michael Gallup. I mean, I want to pull up a couple more receivers here. Well, no, actually, it is only CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, so they definitely do need a couple of guys there, losing Cooper and Ced Wilson, a running back as well. Ezekiel Elliott still had 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns last year, but we can tell that he's tapering off, and even if he's productive, he's only really putting up, in really 45, 50% of games. He's still one of those hit-and-miss running backs, unfortunately, being paid all that money. And then, of course, you look at another corner to complement Trayvon Diggs and maybe even some more of a pass rush to complement a DeMarcus Lawrence, who isn't necessarily consistent at the end of the day, and we've seen Dallas with the defense definitely, be here and there. Good season last year, but they could definitely improve with the defensive line. Let's roll over into Philadelphia. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to maybe victory. We'll see. Tell me how you feel about them, Fees.
I thought you said maybe victory like you were forgetting what they actually were saying, but I'm like, oh, that's just disrespectful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm out here throwing shots, man.
Yeah, so the Philadelphia Eagles in the preseason, I predicted that they would go 8-9, get second place in the division, and miss the playoffs, which I was almost all the way right, but they went 9-8. They won one game more, and they actually made the playoffs. I don't know how they snuck into the wild card. I mean, that was a serious overachievement from being 4-11 and 1 the season prior.
Right.
I mean, that's a massive jump. 5 more wins, 6 really if you count the tie into that. But I'm going to give Philly an A. Their expectations were absolutely not to make the playoffs. They were just for them to improve and have something to build on. I mean, they snuck into the wild card. They lost to Tampa, which is respectable. No one's actually faulting them for that because no one thought they would be there, and no one absolutely did not pick them to beat Tampa in the playoffs, especially not on the road. I mean, they got a pretty decent season out of Jalen Hurts. I mean, he coming from the 4-game stint his rookie season, moving on into his first full year as a starter, threw over 3,100 yards, completed 61% of his passes, threw for 16 touchdowns, and he ran for another 10 touchdowns at 784 yards rushing, had an 87 QB rating. So, I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, but it was his first year in this system. Like, he's pretty much gotten comfortable with the system. They didn't really have requisite weapons for him available all season because they actually did have a decent roster. He just didn't have everyone the whole time. I mean, as far as their needs, they absolutely need wide receivers. Devontae Smith, he's definitely a gamer. But Philly's going to really go heavy on defense, just like I was explaining before when we were discussing Jalen Hurts and Philly with all of these draft picks that they've got. I think they'll be focusing on the defense. Corner, linebacker, edge rusher, all of those will probably come before wide receiver, especially if they can. They're probably confident that they'll actually have a healthy Jalen Reagor. I mean, they're confident in it every year. It just doesn't seem to happen. But when he's on the field, he actually is an asset. Dallas Goedert had a very strong season. So I think if you complement these guys with another weapon or two that are viable, or at least someone who's like a possession receiver who is reliable, it doesn't have to be another game breaker because Devontae can do that.
Right.
I mean, Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, I mean, they're hit or miss. But when they're on, those guys are game breakers. I mean, out there running in the read option with Jalen Hurts, who clearly can run. I mean, He damn near rushed for 1,000 yards. So he's a problem. The running game isn't an issue. They need more depth on the outside and to plug the holes on the defense. And, I mean, Philly can make a decent run at winning this division next year, especially with Dallas losing wide receivers.
Shoo. Trying to see, did Hurts really rush for that many yards last year?
784 and 10 touchdowns.
Wow. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is definitely that guy. Definitely that guy. I love seeing what Jalen does on the field. All right, so let's get into these Philadelphia Eagles here. Preseason takes for me. I was nervous about the new head coach coming in. We saw Nick Sirianni obviously butcher the press conference earlier in the year, talking about systems within the team and just totally butchering it. Made everybody nervous within Philadelphia. And then another prediction here is I was really hoping that Jalen Hurts was going to get his respect coming into this year. We obviously saw the fact that, when the Eagles pulled him out towards the end of the season in that last game, and he was really pissed off about it. They were kind of tanking on national television. And that was one thing that really told me that the Eagles weren't buying in on Jalen Hurts. They didn't really respect him, and I kind of thought he was a weird pick and still think he's a weird fit in Philadelphia for the time being, but I think Jalen Hurts will be moved within a season or two. Probably after this year, we could see a Jalen Hurts quarterback trade up. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Of course, I was hoping that he got a full season to start, and then I was hoping that Devontae Smith was worth that number 10 pick that he had him for in the NFL draft, especially with his body size. And I did have them at a 5-12 record. I'm going to give Philadelphia an A as well. Fees definitely agree. We thought they were going to be bottom feeders in the NFL, and they actually had a couple of times in the season where we didn't think they were contenders, but we knew that they were a team that could compete with a lot of good teams in the league. Maybe not compete with great teams, but I believe that, Philadelphia could potentially be in that type of mix next year. If they just continue to buy in on Jalen, especially with the big draft trade like they just had, they should definitely be able to see some more success out of the team here. So we'll give Philadelphia an A there. Now, in terms of their biggest needs, I'm going to say a true wide receiver 1 or a true wide receiver 2, actually, because I have a lot of respect for Devontae Smith, of course. But outside of that, you got a Quez Watkins, a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Let's see a couple of the other receivers here. You got Zach Pascal, of course, that you picked up. You got Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward. So you do have wide receivers. I would say a true wide receiver too, because all those guys kind of feel like, 2s, 3s, and 4s, maybe more or less there. And go for another tight end as well. Of course, Zach Ertz got out of town last year. You have Dallas Goedert in place of him. But to get Jalen Hurts, another tight end, we know all quarterbacks can be very different when they have a tight end at their disposal. Look at Lamar Jackson. Look at Drew Brees. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo. So definitely focus on some needs there for Philadelphia. Now, let's move on to the Redskins. Football team. Commanders. Washington Feast. Tell me about preseason grades, biggest needs.
You got 3 of the 4. They're the Commodores.
The Chitterlings.
Washington. Yeah. My expectations for Washington coming into the season was that they would be a very mediocre football team. They would finish the season 7-10, and look what happened.
Look at that.
They were a mediocre football team, and they finished 7-10, third in the division, just like I said. Fitz did go down in week 1 and did not play the rest of the season, so they had Taylor Heineke for the entire year, who actually didn't have a bad year for an undrafted guy. We call him Heineken. You say, I finally actually called him by his actual name, Taylor Heineke. But they got swept by the Eagles and the Cowboys in 4 straight weeks. It's not like, over the course of the season. 4 consecutive games, they got blasted by 2 division rivals. That is a terrible stretch of games. And that was the second 4-game losing streak they had over the course of the season. Things were really not clicking on all cylinders for them. They were 21st in total offense, 24th in scoring offense, 22nd in total defense, and 25th in scoring defense. That's a formula for, I don't even know how they went 7-10.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have won as many games as they won because they were towards the bottom half of the league in every major category. I'll give them a C because they were mediocre and status quo, average, whatever you want to call it, and that's what a C is, a 2.0. You barely got by. That's the epitome of what a C was the Washington Commodores. Now, their needs, they're so all over the field. They brought in Carson Wentz. I don't know why they gave up 2 third-round picks for Carson Wentz. I would have taken a third-round quarterback over Carson Wentz. But maybe they brought him in so he could be a bridge backup quarterback and mentor whoever they decide to pick up in the draft. Think if they are looking to draft a new quarterback, they need to do it ASAP. If it was me, I would start Taylor Heineken and load up the weapons around him. You're not paying him anything. He actually had a pretty decent season. They never do what they're supposed to do out there, but the dude threw for 3,400 yards and 20 touchdowns.
Right.
That's not a bad year. 313 yards rushing. He's not a super mobile quarterback, but he can get out of the backfield, and that's with really no weapons. I know the Washington fans, they come on the YouTube and they try to name a bunch of guys that nobody's ever heard of, talking about what their 40 times are. It's like, bruh, no one knows these guys because they're actually not that good.
Yeah, outside of Terry McLaurin, everyone else is a toss-up. Donnie Brown maybe, but
your second leading receiver was J.D. McKissick.
Yeah. Hey, we got a caller tonight. You're definitely a rookie, though. You got to turn off the show in the background. We can hear us all day. What's your name? Where are you calling from, sir?
They brought in Carson Wentz.
Hello, caller. With us tonight on Petty Sports.
Hey.
What's happening, man?
What's going on? First of all,
can you cut the show off in the background,
tell
please,
Thieves to put some respect on our name. It's the Washington Commanders. Ain't no Commodores. The Washington Commanders. Tell them to put some respect on our name.
They're the Commodores, but can you turn us down in the background?
Yeah,
I do like to listen to me, but I already said all that.
I got you.
There we go. Yeah, go ahead, man. It's just bad feedback on our end. It's kind of hard to hear.
I had to chime in here now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because now you're talking about the squad. And you're talking about my team. But truth be told, yes, you're right. We had a tough year. Very tough year. But you really got to look at the team as a whole. We've got a coach that came in first year with cancer. He has to focus on his personal life before he can really focus on the team. But even doing that, he still took us to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And with a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of distractions. A lot of distractions that we had with quarterback play, with injuries. Kyle Allen get injured. Alex goes down. We got a guy going to strip clubs and partying after winning the game. He not on the team no more. Like, just so many distractions. But as a whole, I like what he's doing. And I like what he's trying to incorporate in Washington.
Yeah. Talk about Ron Rivera, right?
Yeah.
Injury
definitely.
sounds good until you look at that team in Tennessee that had the most injuries in the history of one NFL season, and they were the 1 seed in the AFC. So I can't go with that. Not at 7-10.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Buy it.
I know what you mean about Rivera, though, because when he came over, a lot of people were saying, there was speculation about maybe Cam Newton coming over at a certain point in time, defensive culture.
Yeah, he walked into a bad situation, a bad organization, bad time in the organization.
Just like
and
Rivera did.
It was a headache. But as far as what he's building and what he's attempting to do, I like it.
Yeah.
I like that we have a defense that could every year be a top 10, maybe even top 5, but definitely top 10 with that defense.
Definitely. And you look at the fact that Ron Rivera walked into a dumpster fire in Carolina. I think they were, 2-3 game winners the year that, the year before Ron Rivera showed up. He clearly turns it around. It was really a bunch of average, mediocre 7 to 9 years with a Cam Newton and, Jonathan Stewart, a little tail end to Steve Smith there, and obviously the MVP year with the Super Bowl. But outside of that, there's really no highlight, on Ron Rivera's kind of, I guess, tenure as a coach in the league. Mad respect for him, and I think he could bring a lot of greatness to Washington, obviously. But again, you wonder about the quarterback situation. I mean, some of my needs here are quarterback, cornerback as well. And you just have to wonder, are they ever going to be able to surpass that offensive kind of hump that they're over? We know that they're there defensively. There's no question about that. But can they hang with the big guys that are in the NFC offensively, and especially in the AFC, because you're going to have to see them if you're talking about going all the way. There's no question about that. But what was your name again, man?
Yeah.
I don't think I caught your name before you got on here.
Randall.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you calling into the show, man. We're going to go ahead and get rolling through Washington here, but hey, definitely feel free to call anytime. You already know. And where are you from again? You from Washington?
All right, cool. Atlanta. I'm down here in Atlanta.
Okay. I was about to say, you better be from Washington riding that hard for the Chitterlings.
These know who I am.
Commanders.
Talking about Commodores.
They are the Commodores. I want to see you in a Carson Wentz jersey riding like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go ahead and get it. You got to rock with your guy, right? That's our guy.
Right.
So I got to rock with our guy. Because the truth be told, I really want to see what Fitzpatrick could have done, because all we need is a veteran.
Goodness.
He could be good, basic, bad, whatever. We just need a vet on that offensive, in the offense, to come in. And he's a vet. So I'm not saying he's going to take us places. He's definitely not going to be on the team in 4 years from now. But having that could make a huge difference, just like I think Fitzpatrick would have made a difference with our season last year.
Fitzpatrick never stays anywhere more than a year or two.
Right.
He's the ultimate journeyman. I think he's played for every team in the NFL.
The ultimate journeyman.
Yeah, he on the way. He going to Boston next. Watch.
Hey, Randall.
No, we got Mac Jones. We good.
Hey, Randall, before I let you go, I had someone comment and tell me today that the new Washington Commanders logo is actually just a taco holder. How do you feel about that?
You said they were what?
It's a taco holder. Like when you go to a restaurant and they bring you the little metal stand and put your tacos in.
Yeah,
between.
we got something to hold. All right, we got to hold something. It's called a Lombardi. Don't worry about what we're doing.
You got to be from Washington riding for the Commodores that hard, man.
What's it been since '91?
All right,
Randall, we'll let you roll on, brother. Fees, I believe you were in the middle of your needs, I believe, before we took his call there.
No. Actually, I was finished with them. I was trying to tell them that they need to go ahead and hang on to Heineken.
Yeah. Heineken. Yeah. Washington's definitely in it. They're in a decent spot. They could be in a lot worse spot, but I think considering where they were just a couple years ago, like Randall just said when they came in, they've got positivity to bank on. No question about that. But let's look at how I felt about Washington walking into the year. So I did expect that defense to be top 5, like our caller Randall was just saying. How they were a couple of seasons ago. I really expected that from them last year. And I thought that Chase Young would really almost be elite in year 2. I don't know if I can say that he was almost elite, but he was still definitely one of the top pass rushers in the league. We obviously saw his rookie campaign, and Pro Football Focus really put it into perspective that he was on a Khalil Mack, yes, literally, go look at the numbers, type of level in his rookie year. I think after the middle of the season, he was the second highest graded pass rusher. I remember listening back to the what's it called? I remember listening back to our preseason predictions. I also expected Ryan Fitzpatrick, not Taylor Heineke, to take them to a playoff run because of the defense. I really just thought Fitzpatrick had more of a veteran presence and leadership, like Randall was just saying there as well. But overall, I didn't expect them to be a 6-11 team, but they could win the division, oddly enough, because of how bad it is. Now, I will give Washington a C here as well. Couldn't really go any higher or lower. I mean, they were just average. They were 7-10, I believe. Clearly we're never a threat. Obviously, one of the better the defenses in the league, but they still just can't get it to click offensively. And we know they've got pieces. We know they got a good backfield. We know they've got a good O-line. We know they got good pass catchers out there. If they can just rally in the offense, I think they could potentially make a push. Sticking them with a C. And my biggest needs are going to be quarterback, because we know Fitzpatrick and obviously Fitzpatrick and, geez, why am I losing it here? Help me out, Fees.
Wentz and Heineken.
Wentz and Heineken. We know that they're not franchise guys. At best, they're all bridges, and really you could coin flip with any three of them on any given day. But I'm also going to say cornerback as well, because when you go look at Washington's cornerback room, you've got, William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, and then Benjamin St. Juste, I believe, and Danny Johnson. So definitely no big names there outside of Kendall Fuller, and maybe William Jackson III whenever he wants to make a play. All right, Fees, we got about 5 minutes here. Let's go over to the New York Football Giants for the last team of our NFC East postseason wrap. We go team by team and talk about your favorite NFL team, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me about the Giants, Fees. Preseason takes, grades, biggest needs.
See, went with the Chris Berman on this one. The New York Football Giants. 4-13. I mean, I actually gave them a little bit more credit coming into the preseason. I had them at 6-11. It's only 2 games more, but this was a terrible season. I mean, they're absolutely getting an F. I mean, Daniel Jones only threw for 2,400 yards. He played 11 games, so it wasn't like it was 2,417 games, but still.
400 of those yards were on my Saints.
2,400 yards, very unimpressive season. Their leading rusher and receiver both went for 500 yards. I mean, you'd had no one even sniff 1,000 yards.
Wow.
There were not any bright spots on this team.
Yep.
I mean, you had Booker and Saquon both rushed for 593 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just 2? Like, they can't put up points at all. But it's not even like they were a team that lost a lot of close games and you just need to make a tweak. They got blown out in 10 of the 13 losses. They were getting drug all over the field for the better part of the season. I mean, that was a bad 4-13. Don't really know how they won the 4 games that they won. I mean, it's pretty sad. They're getting a capital F, F-. I mean, like, not like you scored a 60 F.
You got a 27 on your test.
Yeah, like a low. Like, you got the points that you got for writing your damn name F.
All right.
That's all you got.
Your little name, date, and homeroom, your little MLA format. That's why you get your points on your test.
That's it. You properly filled out the name part of the sheet, but that's it.
Oh, man. The New York.
They need everything.
Yes, they do.
They're trying to load up with Daniel Jones. Like, bro, he's not it. It's okay to admit that you were wrong. Shouldn't have picked him. Definitely shouldn't have picked him as high as you picked him.
What the hell they were doing.
Still sticking with him.
Yeah.
You need a quarterback. You need an offensive line because you just completely wasted away Saquon's career, what it could have been, because he just gets destroyed in the backfield every time he gets the football.
Right.
You need wide receivers because Galladay, I mean, there's a reason you were able to get him.
Right.
He's done. You need wide receivers. You need a quarterback. You need an offensive line. You need a defense. I mean, pretty much, New York's going to be bad for quite some time.
It's a good job.
You can't rebuild like that.
Tear it down to the studs. Yeah, that's definitely what the New York Giants are going to be looking at. Man, speaking of just some Saquon stats real quick. I know we're up against time, but I will still make it there. So, man, rookie year for Saquon, 261 carries, 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns, 91 catches for 724 yards, and an additional 4 touchdowns. So he was a 2,000-yard from scrimmage, 15-touchdown guy in his rookie year. And it sucks, man, because people are now trying to call him a bust, this, that, and the third. Excuse me. And now I said for the preseason takes coming in that I was hoping Saquon would come back healthy because, again, people are starting to call him a bust, which I think is kind of crazy. I understand why, though. You eventually have to start putting up some of this production, especially when you're taking it number 4, or was it number 2 in the draft? He was a top 5 pick. Yeah. he was a top 5 pick in the draft as a running back out of Penn State, out of all places. He's obviously, been great when he's healthy, but when is he healthy? And then I asked myself the question of, will Daniel Jones be able to perform with actually decent weapons around him in the NFL? We know he did get a couple of weapons over in the offseason. Of course, Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney wasn't horrible. You got a Ricky Seals-Jones from the Commodores. Yeah, I almost keep saying Commodores. I like that a lot. It definitely is. Was he going to be able to perform with weapons around him? Still stuck them at the 5-12 record. Nothing really much to chop up here about the Giants. I gave them an F. They were awful. I mean, I didn't even know that their highest receiver and rusher was only 500 yards. I mean, hell, Daniel Jones might have had 500 yards rushing if he could have taken off with the wheels like we've seen before. And then to round it out for our biggest needs, I definitely think they need a quarterback. There's no question about that. Daniel Jones is self-explanatory. Go get another wide receiver. I think you've got solid 2s and 3s in the room, obviously, in a Kenny Golladay, in a Kadarius Toney, in a Sterling Shepard, but you can never go wrong with finding another guy. And speaking of pass catchers, look at another tight end as well. Ricky Seals-Jones is solid from Kansas City over to Washington, now in New York, but what is he going to be? Will Daniel Jones actually be able to operate with him back there? So, of course, it is tough for the New York Football Giants, but it's even tougher that it's the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. We highly appreciate everybody tuning in tonight to Petty Sports. You already know what time it is. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Appreciate you for calling the show. Appreciate you for hopping the comments and engaging on every social media platform. It's not about where we're at, but where you catch your content. We're talking the NFL draft soon. Fees, take us out of here, man.
Yes, sir. As always, appreciate y'all for tuning in every Wednesday night. Much love, Petty Nation. Make sure y'all tune in next Wednesday night. Tomorrow night, the Braves open up. That's why we all rocking the gear. That's what's up. They gonna drop the banner. Finally got the monkey off their back. Appreciate y'all, and we out.